They said the pharaohs ruled over death, that they held dominion over the final breath. But there was one who refused to accept it, one who sought to conquer mortality itself. His name was Khareb, the forgotten priest king, a ruler whose ambition was so vast, so terrifying, that his own people tried to erase him from history. They sealed him in the deepest desert, buried his name, and struck his god from the sacred texts. They believed his legacy was finished, his bloodline severed. But Khareb's blood never truly dried. Centuries passed. Faith gave way to science, gods to genetics. And in the shifting sands of time, a single drop of his blood found its way back to the living. Those who touch it don't just awaken the past, they become it. The desert wind crawled across the valley of Luxor, a whisper through ancient bones. At the edge of a newly uncovered tomb, Dr. Kareem Mansour brushed dust from a limestone wall, his flashlight revealing hieroglyphs that seemed to shimmer with an inner light. He spoke into his recorder, his voice low with excitement. "We found another chamber. The markings. They mention Khareb, a name not listed in any dynasty, any known record." His words hung in the dry, still air, a question posed to the silent darkness. Behind him, Dr. Salma El-Deeb, Egypt's leading geneticist, knelt beside a row of brittle clay jars. Her expertise was in the secrets of life, not the silence of death, but something drew her here. With gloved hands that trembled ever so slightly, she lifted the lid from one of the jars. Beneath layers of resin and dried linen lay a small, ornate vial. Inside, a dark, coagulated fluid rested, defying the passage of millennia. "It's blood," she murmured, her voice a mix of awe and disbelief. Still preserved, the other members of the dig team exchanged uneasy glances. Blood? After thousands of years, it was impossible. The laws of nature, of decomposition, screamed against it. But Salma's scientific curiosity was a force more powerful than caution. She carefully sealed the vial, her mind already racing with the possibilities, and slid it into a refrigerated sample case. As the team packed their equipment to return to Cairo, the desert wind began to rise again, howling through the narrow entrance of the tomb. Unseen by any of them, deep within the chamber, the faint engraving of an eye inside a circle glowed with a sudden, fierce red light before fading back into the cold stone. The desert held its secrets close, but this one was no longer content to sleep. Back in Cairo, the sterile white glow of Salma's laboratory replaced the dusty haze of Luxor. The air hummed not with wind, but with the quiet, steady thrum of advanced machinery. She placed the ancient vial into an analyzer, her reflection staring back from the polished steel. She whispered to the silent sample, a challenge to the past. "Let's see what you are, Khareb." The machine whirred to life. On the monitor, data streams flared, but this was no ordinary analysis. Unidentified DNA sequences scrolled rapidly across the screen, complex strands, unlike any known life form, terrestrial or otherwise. They weren't random. They formed repeating, intricate patterns that almost resembled a language. Omar, her young, brilliant assistant, leaned closer, his eyes wide. "Is that language written in DNA?" Salma barely heard him, her focus absolute. "It's structure," she corrected, her voice tight with fascination. "It's communication, written directly into the genes." This wasn't just biology. It was information, a message encoded in the very building blocks of life. Hours bled into one another, fueled by coffee and an obsessive drive. Salma managed to isolate a single fragment, a protein cluster that seemed to pulse under the digital microscope's magnification. Then, something impossible happened. It moved, not a random twitch, but a deliberate, rhythmic pulse. It wasn't dead. It wasn't dormant. It was aware. That night, sleep offered no escape. Salma found herself walking through a corridor of polished black stone, a place that felt more real than any dream. Voices echoed around her, ancient, male, and filled with an undeniable authority. They spoke in a language she had never heard yet understood perfectly. "You have called my blood," one voice boomed, seeming to come from the walls themselves. "Now you will carry it." She woke with a gasp, drenched in sweat, her hand clutching her chest. Her heart pounded against her ribs. Looking down, she saw a faint, golden vein pulsing just beneath her skin, branching out from her heart like a delicate, terrifying tree. It hadn't been there before. She scrambled out of bed and rushed to the lab, a terrible premonition gripping her. The lab was silent, the machines in standby mode. On the analysis tray, the ancient vial was empty. A thin smear of dark blood remained, but it wasn't inside the vial. It was on the fingertip of her discarded lab glove. Her blood ran cold. She remembered a tiny, imperceptible tear in the latex, a single drop. That's all it took. Omar arrived moments later, his cheerful morning greeting dying on his lips as he saw her. He froze, his expression shifting from confusion to alarm. "Doctor, your eyes." She turned to face him, a question forming on her lips. But as she met his gaze in a nearby reflection, she saw it too. For a fleeting moment, her pupils weren't their usual deep brown. They gleamed with a strange amber light, like desert sunlight cutting through a sandstorm. The blood of Khareb was no longer just a sample. It was inside her. The days that followed blurred into a fevered dream of discovery and transformation. Salma barely slept, barely ate. The work consumed her. The ancient DNA sequences on her screen were no longer just data. They were a conversation. The blood was teaching her, unlocking knowledge that had been lost for millennia. She began speaking ancient phrases in her sleep, words no modern Egyptian could possibly know, phrases that spoke of celestial alignments and the alchemy of the soul. In her notebooks, strange hieroglyphs began to appear between the complex genetic formulas. They were elegant, precise, and utterly alien to her. She didn't remember writing them, yet there they were, in her own handwriting. It was as if another consciousness was sharing her mind, using her hands as its own. Worried by her frantic, unheard-of progress, Khareb arrived from Luxor to check on her. The change in her was startling. Her eyes held a new, unnerving intensity, and the golden vein on her chest was now a complex, glowing network visible through her shirt. "Salma, you look unwell," he said, his voice laced with concern. "You need to rest. Whatever this is, it's taking a toll." "I'm fine, Khareb," she replied, her voice flat, distant. She gestured to the main monitor. "Better than fine. Khareb's blood is rewriting everything we thought we knew about mortality. He didn't just want to live forever. He wanted to become eternal." Khareb's gaze shifted to the screen. The complex DNA sequences had rearranged themselves. They now formed a face, rendered in startling detail from genetic code. It was a man's face wrinkle, powerful, with eyes that seemed to stare out from the screen from across the gulf of 4,000 years. "That's not Dada," Kareem whispered, a chill running down his spine. "That's him. That's Khareb." Salma turned from the screen, a faint, knowing smile greasing her lips. It was a smile that didn't quite belong to her. "He's not just a subject anymore, Kareem," she said, her voice a near-perfect echo of the one from her dream. "He's my teacher." And as she spoke, the amber light in her eyes flared, no longer fleeting, but burning with the steady, eternal fire of a forgotten king who had finally found his heir. The past was not just awakened, it was reborn. In the dead of night, the sterile silence of the laboratory was broken. Security cameras, the lab's sleepless eyes, recorded an event that would later defy all logic. Dr. Salma El-Deeb, a brilliant mind on the verge of a breakthrough, stood before a simple mirror. But what she was doing was anything but simple. She whispered, her voice weaving words from a dialect long dead, a language buried with the Pharaohs. As she spoke, a faint ethereal gold light pulsed beneath her skin, tracing the path of her veins. She reached out, her fingertips brushing against the cool glass of the mirror. In that moment, the impossible happened. Her reflection remained perfectly still, a frozen image of herself, its eyes holding an ancient, knowing gaze. "You are almost ready," the reflection spoke, its voice a dry whisper like sand shifting in a forgotten tune. "The vessel remembers." Just then, Layla, Salma's dedicated assistant, appeared in the doorway. Her face was a mask of sheer terror, her eyes wide with disbelief at the scene unfolding before her. "Doctor, please, stop this," she stammered, her voice trembling. Salma turned, her movement unervingly slow, inhumanly graceful. Crimson tears, thick as blood, trickled from her eyes, carving dark trails down her cheeks. "It's not me anymore, Lila," Salma said, her voice a chilling monotone. "It's us." In an instant, the overhead lights exploded in a shower of sparks and glass, plunging the room into absolute darkness. The camera feed cut to static. The footage ended. The next morning, a sense of dread hung heavy in the air. Kareem, a journalist who had been following Salma's work, and Nader, the head of lab security, forced the heavy lab doors open. The scene that greeted them was one of utter devastation. The state-of-the-art equipment was warped and fused to the walls, melted into grotesque sculptures by an unimaginable heat. And there, in the very center of the chaos, stood Salma. She was motionless, a statue caught between two worlds. Her body was undergoing a horrifying metamorphosis, with those same golden veins now crawling visibly across her skin like gilded cracks in porcelain. "You shouldn't have come," she whispered. Her voice was a disturbing harmony of two distinct tones, her own and another far deeper, ancient, and powerful. Kareem's hands shook, but his reporter's instinct took over. He lifted his camera, the lens focusing on the woman who was once his friend. "Salma, please, what happened to you?" he pleaded, his voice cracking with fear and confusion. In response, Salma slowly raised her hand. Glowing ominously in her palm was a hieroglyphic symbol, the very same one they had found etched into the walls of Khareb's tomb months ago. It pulsed with a malevolent light. "Khareb's blood was never meant to die," she explained, her dual voice echoing in the ruined lab. "It only needed a host. I gave it one." As she spoke, her shadow stretched and warped on the walls behind her. It twisted and grew, taking on the unmistakable silhouette of an ancient pharaoh, complete with the terrifying crown of death. The room grew cold, and the air crackled with an energy that felt both ancient and alive. It was horrifyingly clear that whatever was happening was far beyond reversal. The transformation was no longer a subtle shift. It was a violent, agonizing takeover. Salma's body contorted, the sickening sound of cracking bones filling the silence as the network of gold and crimson veins consumed her flesh entirely. Her face became a terrifying tableau. Splitting down the middle one half was still recognizably human, twisted in pain, while the other was something else entirely. Divine yet decayed, godlike yet monstrous. The flesh forgets, she rasped, the two voices now struggling against each other for control. But the blood remembers. With that final cryptic proclamation, a blinding wave of pure energy erupted from her body. The remaining windows of the laboratory shattered outwards in a deafening explosion, sending glass and debris flying. When the dust and smoke finally cleared, she was gone, vanished without a trace. All that remained was the symbol of Khareb, burned deep into the concrete wall, glowing faintly with a soft, rhythmic pulse. Like a heartbeat, weeks turned into a month. Life for the outside world moved on. At the city's Grand Museum, a curator was carefully unboxing a new anonymous donation. It was a small, preserved vial containing a dark, viscous red liquid. The label, handwritten in a shaky script, was chillingly simple. Recovered from Dr. Salma L.D. Laboratory, sample 07. Unaware of its true nature, the curator logged the acquisition and placed the vial in a glass display case. By a twist of fate, or perhaps by design, he set it right beside an exhibit titled The Tomb of Khareb, The Search for Eternal Life. His work done for the day, he walked through the silent halls, turning off the lights one by one. As the gallery was plunged into darkness, the vial pulsed. Just once, a single silent heartbeat, then stillness. Some bloodlines, it seems, never truly die, and some ancient knowledge is meant to remain buried forever. Because deep within the veins of time, the Pharaoh still waits patiently for the next curious soul to open his tomb. Thank you so much for joining me on this terrifying tale. If you enjoyed this story and want to explore more mysteries that lie hidden in the shadows, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Let me know in the comments what you think happened to Salma. Until next time, stay curious and be careful what you unearth. Thanks again for watching, and stay tuned for more stories. Goodbye.